Recording in progress.
And then the button.
He's ill today.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll get started with our council meeting tonight of West Haven City, Utah. Today is February 21st, 2024, and it is 6:08. We're a little behind from our work meeting. My name's Rob Vanderwood. I'm the mayor of West Haven, and we'll call this meeting to order. We'll get started right off the bat here with some discussion with our opening ceremonies. We'll get that going first, and that will be our Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Schwab and our prayer or moment of silence with Councilmember Morse.
Please rise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Father in heaven, we are so grateful for this day that we can come together as a council and discuss the things that are important to our community. Father, we ask that you guide us in making decisions that will benefit our community. We also ask that you protect and watch over the police, the fire department, nurses, doctors, and those soldiers who are overseas fighting for our country and our freedoms every day. We appreciate the work that all of those folks do, and we want them to come home safely each night. Father, we ask that at the end of this meeting, you also ensure that we each get home safely tonight. And I say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilmember Schwab and Councilmember Morse. Also want to point out that our Lieutenant Jeffries is feeling ill tonight and contacted me earlier and let me know that he wouldn't be here tonight. But I told him not to worry. We're in good hands. We also have Councilmember Dixon that is ill, but she's on Zoom tonight. So we appreciate her joining, but not joining us tonight. So thank you for that too. All right, we'll move on to our next item on here, item number 3, our public presentation. Residents attending this meeting will be allotted 2 minutes to express a concern or ask a question about any issue that is not on the agenda. No action can or will be taken on any issues that are presented. Do we have anyone that would like to come forward at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item on here. Item 4 for upcoming events. We do have our senior lunch bunch. Can't miss that. February 28th. And it's at 11:30. Looking forward to that. That should be a great time. We also, I think we're going to be playing some games and have some good food. So is there anything else on upcoming events from the council?
Mayor, I just wanted to announce the Easter egg hunt will be on March 30th. Now I forgot the date. Saturday before Easter. It will start at 9 a.m. and there will be more information coming.
Okay. Is everything getting organized through the youth council on that and the events committee?
Yes, the youth council is organizing. I will reach out to Sherry and make sure that they are including her, and also get some things to Janessa. So
Okay.
We'll get that done.
Perfect.
So Easter's on the 31st, so would it be on the 24th then?
It's the Saturday, so March 30th.
Oh, right.
Okay. Anything else from the council? Okay, we'll move on to item 5, council information. We do have our Utah League of Cities and Towns mid-year conference on April 17th through the 19th. 2024 is, and if the council, if you haven't got signed up for that, if you're planning on going, I'd love to see you there. It's a great conference. I think, does anybody else have any questions about that?
I plan on going.
Got to get your rooms ready.
I'd like to note that, Emily, I plan on going. I plan on going.
Okay. Anything else for council information? Okay, seeing no more, we'll move to item 6 for council updates. I'll just start out real quick. We were fortunate enough, the city manager, Sean, and I were able to go up to the legislative meeting up and have a discussion with the Utah League of Cities and Towns President Cameron Dial. That was a good meeting, and we also got a chance to sit down and talk with the representative Musselman. So it was a good time and a good chance we had to talk with them a little bit about upcoming bills. They did request some information back on some of the bills that are coming through that affect cities. I thought that was really appropriate for them to engage us as one of the bigger cities on the western side to have that discussion and move through that a little bit. So we'll be getting some more information on that and providing some feedback on that as well. Is there anything else you needed to add on there, Sean?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then also, we had our 2024-25 budget retreat. It was nice to sit down and have some discussion about finances, our vision and mission statement, just making sure that we're all in alignment, and some other priorities that are aligning for our budget coming up. So we'll be looking forward to some more meetings coming up on that, but thank you for those that were in attendance for that. Is there any other council updates you'd like to share?
I don't have an update. I guess I wouldn't call this an update, but the ULCT has a legislative policy committee, which is the committee that you had put me on, Mayor. And I recently asked actually at the beginning of the year for them to put me in as a voting member. They have not done that yet, and I'll reach back out to them, but I would recommend that the third voting member for West Haven City be our city manager. And so at some point, and I can send you a link to that if you need one, but at some point, probably ought to coordinate that as well.
Good. Sounds good. Yeah, we attended the LPC meeting after as well and got some good information on that as well. But thanks for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else from the council? Okay, we'll move on to item 7, action on consent agenda. Item A was for our city council minutes. Meeting was held on February 7th of 2024. And item B was for Rock Hard Excavation LLC for $196,030.32. Is there any questions or concerns about the consent agenda?
I just had some changes that I sent over to Emily. Did you get that?
Send them to all of us.
I did,
Okay.
and I updated the
I
minutes.
didn't. I didn't see the changes. So, did it add my comments in?
It did.
Okay.
Okay, ready for a motion if there's no other changes.
Move to approve consent agenda items A and B.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? We'll do a roll call on that. Councilmember Morse,
Aye.
Councilmember Call,
Aye.
Councilmember Saunders,
Aye.
Councilmember Schwab,
Aye.
and Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you for that. Item 8 on here is our presentation on our audit review for Ulrich and Associates. And I think we have Amy on here.
How are you this evening?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm actually just here to observe. I believe Heather probably has the majority of the report to present. So
I see Heather on there. So thanks, Heather, for being
Hi,
here.
everybody.
And Amy.
We really appreciate you allowing us to do this through Zoom, given what we're doing this time of year. So I really appreciate it. If I may, I can share my screen and then you can be looking at what I am speaking about, if that's possible.
That'd be great.
Okay, there we go. Okay, you should be able to see the report itself.
Yep.
This audit report, this basic financial statement is for the June 30, 2023 year end. Ulrich is the independent auditors. The city is rather lucky to have another CPA firm intimately aware of what's going on financially. So you do have many resources throughout the year to make sure this goes smoothly and make sure you've got the information that you need throughout the year. So I think you're very lucky to have that. Our part in this is independent and only comes in at the end of the year. But there's a lot that goes into getting ready for the audit and getting through the audit. So I wanted to thank Emily and Amy for all of their work to get us through this. It's not the easiest thing, and it does take a little bit of time to get through it. So first, pointing out that this is as of last summer, June 30th. So of course, much has happened between then and now, but this is just a picture in time for that year, 9 months ago or so. The first part that I want to point out is actually our independent auditor's report. It is really what you're paying for. You're paying for our opinion. And what did we do? We viewed the financial statements and tested various aspects of it to be able to determine whether we think that it presents fairly all the material items for the city as a whole. We don't test every last transaction that happens within the city, but we look at the overall and focus on some of the areas that might have more risk in order to determine whether we can issue that clean opinion, and we did issue that clean opinion. The next section, and I'm not going to go page by page on the audit report, but I just wanted to point out a few things to you. There is a section called the Management Discussion and Analysis. This is a narrative and condensed financial information that can be very useful. So if you're going to read any of it, this is the section that I would recommend reading. It's only 5 or 6 pages. And you can see that it does do some comparisons and percentage change and speaks about some of the major changes or transactions within the year. It's a condensed version, and it's much more useful than a lot of the pages to come, especially if you're not as sophisticated in reading the financial statements. This is going to give you a better view of what's actually happening during this time frame. The first major page of the audit is essentially the balance sheet for the city on full accrual accounting, separated into governmental activities, business type activities, and then of course your component unit being the district. Again, I'm not going to go through in detail, other than just wanted to point out that this statement is again a condensed version of full accrual financial statements for the city. I think the next page is more useful, and I'm just going to briefly describe kind of how to read this. It's an income statement, but it's viewed in a little bit different way. We're basically trying to compare what expenses by function the city has, and then the charges and operating grants and capital grants that are offsetting those expenses. So in government, we're not really intending to charge for services necessarily to cover all expenses. So this is a view of that to see whether or not how much we're covering by other general revenues that include the sales tax, room tax, et cetera. So for example, public safety on this section of the report has almost $2 million of expenses. Charges for services in that function is only $154,000. So obviously that's being supported by other revenue sources. It's in a deficit of 1.8 million. So that is being supported by sales tax down in this general section. The other point on this is you can notice that there's a net position beginning that says restated. I wanted to make sure it was clear that's not a mistake from last year. It is as a result of a new GASB standard that was implemented this year, and it resulted in a small change in the net position or the equity as it's stated here. Any questions so far? Nope, doesn't sound like it. Okay. I'm moving on. Again, just pointing out a few things here. This is the true balance sheets for the government, and it's broken down by fund. This is modified accrual accounting, so this is more of what you're used to seeing in your financial reports. This is the balance sheet side of it. The major component of this that I wanted to point out is the capital projects fund has significant amounts of restricted cash in it, about 13 million. That is made up of Class C road money, park impact fees, road impact fees, etc. Basically funding that's earmarked for a specific purpose that is being held and restricted there. I also wanted to point out that your unrestricted, unassigned fund balance for the general fund is below the state compliance levels, which are at 35% of revenues, and I believe you're at about 28%, so that's within compliance. And then the next report that I just wanted to go over briefly, this is the statement of revenue expenditures and changes in fund balance. Again, this is by fund. The major items here to point out is at the bottom here, the net change in fund balances. This is by design. There was a negative net change or a loss in the general fund. That's mainly a result of transfers into that capital projects fund. That was by design and not a concern for us. Every fund is in a positive position, which is also something that we look for overall. And then the other item that I wanted to point out is just the storm drain itself. As you can see, it's showing an operating net loss of $300,000, but there's also an accounting function in there in that depreciation is a part of that. So once you take that component out, you're more at a break-even level for this fund itself, which is intended to have charges for services cover the related expenses each year. The only state compliance item that we had, the only finding this year, was related to being over budget. But again, it was a minor item that was related to that new GASB statement that we had to implement related to subscription-based accruals or accounting. That has already been addressed, and it's reported in this last page of this report. But again, it's already been addressed, so not really a concern from our perspective. And I believe this year we did not have any management letter comments either. So we were very pleased with how the whole audit went, and everything that we saw was functioning correctly, including internal controls, etc. That's all I had to go over. So I don't know, Amy, if you had anything that you wanted to add?
No, we just appreciate your hard work, Heather, and also a shout out to Emily for her hard work as well in keeping the city rolling. Heather mentioned there was only one finding, and a lot of that has to do with management and implementation of controls and watching our compliance. So appreciate Emily for all the hard work she does, and thanks again, Heather, for your time and hard work on the audit. You did a great job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks.
I had one question on here for, maybe this would go over to our Amy on the impact fees for the storm drain. Did we start that up again in September of last year? They seem really low still. Was that when we started those?
It was sometime in the
In the fall?
fall. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you mean the collection of impact fees?
Yes.
Or what?
Yeah, the collection of impact fees for storm drain. Because we were deficit most of the year.
Yeah, because we were doing the impact fee study, and so we can look though to see what the date was for when the ordinance passed, and then we had to wait 90 days after that before we can collect. So we could we can get that information for you.
It was even probably past September then.
It could have been because of that 90-day time frame.
Okay, thank you. Well, thanks again, Heather and Amy, for your help on this. Does the council have any other questions? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We'll move on then from there. Okay, we'll move on to item number 9. This is advice and consent of 2 events committee members for appointments submitted by Mayor Vanderwood to fill 2 3-year term positions. The new terms will be from January 31st of 2024 through December 31st of 2026. And those names that were submitted out there were for Julie Rose and for James Jensen. And I was wondering if any of you had any questions or concerns with any of those appointments.
Mayor, I just want to say that both of those folks that you had sent over have really been of service to the city for several years, and so well deserving, and lucky us for having those 2 folks wanting to join the events committee.
Good. Well, thank you. Any other comments? I'm ready for a motion if you're ready to move forward.
I will move to give advice and consent of 2 event committee member appointments to fill 2 terms from January 31st, 2024 through December 31st of 2026 for James Jensen and Julie Rose.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll just I don't think we need to do a roll call on this, do we? So we'll just go ahead and move forward with the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you for that, and I'm excited to have them on there. That'll give us some good numbers, and we're still in the process of adding people in there, so we may have another one coming up here pretty soon too, but thank you for that. We'll move on to item 10, action on resolution 05-2024, Green Farm Subdivision Improvement Agreement.
So, I guess I'm going to address this since I wrote the staff report.
Okay.
So what's going on here? We all know that about the Green Farm MDA. In the Third Amendment, it was required that certain parts of the development have to have improvement agreements entered into. They've already done that regarding other the open spaces, the community center, and now there's this one. They actually provided the cost estimate back in May, but the problem is that there's been issues of trying to work out what exactly should be covered and those expenses. And so that's why it's taken a little bit longer than anticipated to come up with this. And we also wanted to make sure that we could attach the drawing of what sort of things were going to be covered also, so that you'd have a good just visual as to what was involved with those cost estimates. And I think that we've finally gotten to the point where we're good with it. They have provided the invoices to back up why they're asking to have them be reimbursed for the $506,565.78 of work that they have already performed, and that we are liable to pay them based upon the Third Amendment and the agreements that we've made in the Third Amendment. And so, yeah, does the council have any questions? I tried to be succinct, but give you enough description as to what's going on with a pretty complicated, very large pond project. And part of the problem too with having to figure out some of this stuff is we are waiting on their they've made the application already for the Army Corps to be able to deal with some of these things, and we are still waiting on that. They put that in October. So there's and they've, in their updates, their weekly updates, they have been giving the city weekly updates as to where that is, which it still hasn't moved. Of no fault of their own. They've done everything they're supposed to do.
has our staff been out and reviewed all the things that are claimed on here to be completed?
Yes,
Okay.
and we have met with, so Brock and Scott and Ed and Ryan and me, and then Sean, we've all met several times, and Brock and Scott and Ed and Ryan have been actually out to the site several times with Nielsen Homes, and in fact, again, they have documented that in their weekly updates as to us working through this. They've been out there.
Okay. Any questions from the council on this?
On this first drawing where it says add alternates, some shown in red, does that mean that there's a future list of things we can pick, or is that, what does this mean exactly?
If you go to the cost estimate thing, there is actually a list of, if you go to the second page of the cost estimate, up at the top, it says add alternates. So those are the add alternates and what the priority is. And the reason why they're on there is because there is a certain amount of, if you look at contingency, which is line item 110 on the first page, there's $143,457.32, which is contingency money that, you know, is put in there just in case. If that we don't have to spend it, which that's the hope, that's what these add alternates are, is okay, that's what we would use the money on. Like we don't need to, we took out like the restrooms because we got a grant regarding the restrooms. We got a grant regarding the docks. So those were things that we didn't, that were on the add alternates list, but now aren't because we got the grants. But they're, if you look at the add alternates on that cost estimate, that's kind of the order of, this is what the priority, these are the most important things that need to be put in first. So that's what that add alternate is. There might be extra money too, depending on if there is any savings in other places, which there has been some savings so far with just in the process of us putting together this cost estimate. And so there's been able to be some money dealt with some of those add alternates, and they've been moved into the, yes, we agree on this is, and we felt that it was necessary to do those add alternates, that these are the things that everybody could agree on, that, because in the Third Amendment, it talks about how we were going to split everything, and that if there was anything additional, that both parties had to agree to it, and that's what this would be, is that, and the number that they are putting in for the escrow certificate, that $742,900.43, and that's this bottom line, and so that money is already in there. So if it's not spent with the contingency, we'd be able to do the add alternates.
I was just trying to remember, I can't remember what day I went out and walked out, but when I saw that there was a lot of things, I guess, that were completed, that's why I was just asking, because I was on the Green Farm side looking across, and I didn't see a lot of the things, I guess, completed, but I don't know if I could see it from there.
Well, the majority of the stuff that is, you can see, it just doesn't look finished. It's the excavation, which cost a great deal of money. I mean, you have the SWIP stuff that, but if you look onto, so when you're looking at the cost estimate on the right-hand side there, you can see the stuff that is listed out that has been completed. And so, unfortunately, that's a lot of the excavation and a lot of the, just those type of things, but they are currently working on a host of different items which are, have again been listed in their weekly updates. The stuff that they're asking us to reimburse them on, yes, that has been completed, and they have made payments on those invoices, and we do have the releases, which is what was provided in the packet.
Okay. Well, that helps to just understand that a little bit better.
The Fifth Amendment will be coming. It's just, we needed to get this done before we could finish the Fifth Amendment, because we had to decide, all right, what exactly needed to be done. So that's why you haven't seen the Fifth Amendment yet.
Is that coming soon?
I don't want to say when exactly, because I need to get back a hold of their attorney to find out, to get that worked on again.
All right. Did the council have questions?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. So, as part of this authorization to go ahead and pay the $506,000, is that?
Yes, the resolution covers both. It covers that the improvement agreement in the amount of $742,900.43 be executed, and that the city manager be authorized to sign it, and that would be once Nielsen Homes gets their signatures on it, and then that also the city manager would be also authorized to reimburse the developer in the amount of $565.78.
So that's your question, okay.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions at all? If there's no other questions, I'm ready for a motion.
Move to approve or adopt resolution 05-2024 Green Farm Subdivision Improvement Agreement.
Second.
You want to put the amount on there?
Sure.
506. Can you read that?
I can't read that.
It's on.
It's in the resolution. For the amount of $506,565.78.
Reed, second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Thanks for that correction on there. Any further questions on this or discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call on that. Councilmember Morse,
Aye.
Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
Councilmember Schwab,
Aye.
Councilmember Call,
Aye.
and Councilmember Saunders.
Aye.
Motion carries. Did we have any questions, though? Did we have a question about
A
the?
question about that flooding.
About the flooding.
Are you prepared to discuss flooding? I am not. I apologize. You guys got the B team. Mike Flood is dropping off his son at the MTC today, and so I don't have any answers for you on the flooding. I know it's something that we're concerned about. Obviously, we're doing a lot of improvements out there right now. We're putting in trails, parking lots, curb gutter. Mike's got a good contingency plan. I don't have the answer on that one.
Okay.
We saw that email this afternoon, and I think Mike responded. We wanted to make sure we understood what the concern was and where it was. I think Mike did say that it's going to flood toward the northeast, which is where it has historically been low, and that's where historically flooding has occurred in those areas. But beyond that, I don't have much more information, so I apologize.
That's fair.
Okay. But we're excited at the progress. It doesn't look like a lot's happened because it's just a big old muddy bog, but that's the majority of that cost. I mean, it costs a lot to excavate that and then haul that material off. Much of that's gone to the park. And that's a big portion of that cost. So
I do understand that. I just, from glancing across when I went over to look at it, it was like, I'm not sure all that stuff looked like it was done, but I just wanted to make sure that we were compensating you fairly and making sure that we're getting the work done that we need to. So, but thank you.
yeah, and I mean, if you look at the line items, the biggest one is the excavation, like Amy said, on line 33. And then the dewatering is also a big one to be able to continue to excavate when there's 6 feet of water isn't feasible. So you have to pump that water out, and there's just a cost associated with that. And between those two, that is almost 400,000 of the 506,000. So it's almost, 4/5 of the cost. So there's a couple of other miscellaneous items that we've completed, but yeah, that's the majority of it, is that excavation. And now we're excited to get going on the parking lot and make some progress out there. So,
Awesome.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
yep, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Well, we spent a lot of money there, that's for sure. All right, let's move on to our other discussion item on item 11, discussion on de-annexation from the Taylor West Weber Parks and Cemetery District. We've talked about this a little bit to start with, but I think our council has some input on that a little bit too, on where we stand. But overall, I think this has been difficult because West Haven really wasn't notified. The residents weren't really notified much about this taxation. And it's about, for both of those, it's about $85, $86 a year. So it's not a ton of money, but it is impactful to our residents. I think one thing that has been of concern with this one, and this is again a discussion item, but with the direction and the way that this has been set up in the past, it's been to try and see what we could do to provide parks and trails and recreation for their residents out there that were in the unincorporated area of Taylor. So the concerns and issues that I've had with it a little bit is that they haven't been very cooperative in the discussion points. They were using the Staker Farm as part of their plan and telling people that, Staker Farm was part of it because it is in their annexation area, the part of their district. And they even had pictures of our other park, our country park over there. So I think that they only really had a couple of properties and they really didn't have the access to it. But I just didn't feel like we called them in to discuss if we could possibly get West Haven de-annexed that's already in that, because we have our parks. We already have those items that are set up in there. So I didn't see the advantage of having that as part of the district. But again, the attorney had indicated, as Amy indicated earlier from our legal side, is that they didn't want to do anything with it. They felt like they wanted to leave it alone. Now we've got probably a rollover of management on that. I'll call it the chair is rolled over. So maybe we need to have that discussion again. But the other part too is that John Bond from Weber County, the assessor over there, kind of indicated that we just needed to let him know if we were de-annexing from the park district so that he could make sure that he got that corrected on the taxation for the year. Mm-hmm. So, and it doesn't affect a ton of people. We're talking about Aspire, the Staker Farms people. There's kind of a handful of residents, but I got a couple of contacts last year that said, what is this tax for? And so I just thought it would be something that we need to maybe discuss, or if you have any questions about it, that we could try and pursue again.
Well, as land continues to be developed, it'll continue to affect more people anyway.
It will.
So here's how, basically the two options as to how to de-annex. One, if we can get them to agree, then each body passes a resolution that, yes, we want to de-annex, and basically we want to do a boundary adjustment. So they pass a resolution, we pass a resolution, and then we both notice up a public hearing, hold the public hearing about the de-annexation, the adjustment of the common boundary, and then both bodies adopt a resolution saying, yeah, we want to change that. That is the easiest way. If with the change, then that gets all sent to the lieutenant governor, and it just is very clean and simple, and it gets changed. Hopefully that might be a possibility versus the last time we met, which was there's no way that we will agree to that. The second option is more complicated and might end up in litigation, frankly. Because what we'd have to do is we would have to petition, the city has to petition to withdraw the area from the district. The annexation petition has to be signed by at least 60% of the owners of the total private land area. And we have to adopt a resolution stating intent to withdraw the area from the district. So you have to have both of those. Then they have 90 days from receiving it to consider our petition. They may hold a public hearing. It is not a shall, it is a may. And then they shall consider information presented by us and like the owners. And then they have to identify in writing the information that the district relied on, either for approval or denial. And they shall approve the withdrawal if they make certain findings. So if they find that the loss of revenue is offset by savings of not providing the service, or that the loss of revenue is not offset, but the city can mitigate or eliminate the loss of revenue, that's one possible finding. Or they could find that the petition states that they require that the signers request the area to be withdrawn. Or they can, like 60% of the owners consented, or 60% of the assessed value owners asked for the withdrawal. If they do not, so if they find any of those findings, then they have to allow us to withdraw. If they don't make that finding, if they don't make any of those findings, they may approve or reject the petition, but it has to identify in writing what they relied on. So when I say that it most likely would end up in litigation, that's where it would be, because whatever, if they say, no, we're not going to let you withdraw, the only way I think that we would be able to get it de-annexed is we'd have to file something in district court forcing them to allow the withdrawal, but it would be most likely based on whatever they put in those findings, one way or the other. So there it is in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's a big nutshell. But
Yeah.
but the overall is that they don't have bonds and they don't have those things, so the impact to them is pretty minimal.
Well, it depends on how they characterize what their revenue is going towards to maintain.
Yeah, very little.
But that's what I'm saying. They have to,
Yeah, okay.
Amy, are their accounts public? Can we look and see what they're doing with their money?
yeah,
To be able
they're
to see
a
their budget.
they're a district. They're just like our sewer district. So yes, it is a public entity.
That would be interesting.
And it's all, I think all the de-annexation is not in state filings under section 67 or something like that, isn't that? right?
No,
Okay.
it's not actually. This, because it's a special service district, it's under 17B-1-503.
Yeah, because they already de-annexed when Warren was there. It was the Warren West Weber district, and they've changed that. They actually got rid of the group that we're dealing with right now and de-annexed themselves from that. But this is a little bit different because we're a city versus another district forming another district. But anyway, it's just a concern because we're not. I mean, Weber County obviously has on their taxes. They have their setup for parks, and they have recreation that they tax for, and then they have the district tax as well. So it's like they're getting a lot of taxes overall, and West Haven residents already have these amenities that they're being taxed for. Mm-hmm. So that's my concern. I just want to see if there's, I think it might be good to, I don't know if we need to start the process over again. If you have any recommendations from legal counsel, if we need to get together with them again, or just try and meet with the district again and plead to them that we want to move forward with some discussion. I just wanted to get the thoughts from the council on this.
Question. So a resolution is required by both parties to de-annex. So is that
No, to make a boundary adjustment.
boundary adjustment?
So it's not considered a de-annexation. I mean,
Okay.
it works as that, but in the code, it's referred to as a boundary adjustment.
So were we involved in the boundary adjustment in the beginning? Like, how
What,
did
of
this
forming it?
happen? How did our residents get caught into this district, paying for parks that are not part of our city?
Well, some of it has been annexed since the district has formed, and otherwise, I can't really answer that question.
It would make sense if they were not in the city and then annexed in, and they carried that tax line item with them. That
Well,
makes sense.
that is what happened with some of them.
Some of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I can't definitively say that every single one of them, that's the case.
Okay.
I just know that.
Close. I would say that it's probably like Staker Farms, for example, was an annexation into our city.
Yeah.
Aspire was part of West Haven, if I remember right. So, you know, I think there's a little bit of both for this, but I think it's just a matter of, and again, when we met with the district before, we had, I think, two and the chair. They were concerned, but I think the biggest pushback was that they just felt like they would lose revenue, and they were trying to gain.
that was the biggest thing their attorney said.
They were trying to gain, you know, momentum so that but they didn't even have access, when we quizzed them about it, they didn't have access to maintain the parks. They're not established enough yet. So, and the other part is we're back to the same thing where they said, well, we recognize that it'll be annexed into West Haven. All these parks that they want to build will be annexed into West Haven anyway. So that was kind of the goal, is that you guys will maintain them. And you will.
Oh, I will get my mower out there. The boys will get the weed eaters. We'll go.
So I just wanted to bring it forth because, again, is it worth it? I don't know. We probably need to have that discussion again to see if it's something we need to do, but I don't think it's very fair. It wasn't a fair assessment from Weber County to put that on our residents that are there.
Well, and with those developments, park impact fees were paid to West Haven because that's where they live. And I definitely don't like taxing people for parks outside of the cities they live in. That doesn't make any sense to me.
And and then there's a cemetery district as well. We have our own
Right.
cemetery,
Yep.
but there's part of that too. So it's basically two districts that we're dealing with. But I guess my request from the council would be, maybe to see if, either we want to try and have a meeting with them,
I think that's where we start.
with our city
honestly.
manager, and possibly, it depends on if their attorney wants to show up, we should have our attorney there. And then the second part of it would be, if we just want to proceed with trying to move forward with something.
I mean, the only thing about that is just trying to get people to sign on. And just to let you know as to kind of how tricky that might be is it is taken from September until now. We have a Central Weber annexation issue where there was 3 different subdivisions that had gotten approved and recorded and all that, but between the developer and the city, they were not annexed into Central Weber, and we have been actively working on trying to get people to sign the petition, the annexation petition, to get them into Central Weber, so that Central Weber doesn't start, dinging us. But it's taken us from like September, October, and Sharice and Ed have been, I think we're about 10 houses away right now from getting it, but it's so.
But that process is slightly different, but same
It
concept.
is slightly different,
We're
but
taking away taxes versus them charging them for something else.
right.
so.
But I mean, it's still trying to get people to
Understand.
respond. So I'm not saying that it can't be done. It's just it's a longer process of just trying to get people to respond. At least that's what we found over the last 5-6 months, is just trying to get people to, hey, you can pay far less if you just agree to, annex in, so.
And even Weber County commissioners, a couple of them said, yeah, that doesn't seem like that's fair. But we need to try and figure out if it's something we want to pursue or not. I'd like to see it done just because I don't think it's fair to our citizens to have that, so. If you want to try and have a meeting with them, that might be the first starting point. Should we start with that?
With the change, I think that would be the best thing, because it's the easiest to have both parties just do the resolution and move on with it.
Can we maybe shoot for that?
Yeah. With both West Weaver Park and West Weaver Cemetery, Taylor Cemetery?
Yeah, whether we meet with them together, they're separate, so we probably want to meet with them separately.
Yeah. Okay.
If the council's okay with that, I think that's a good starting point. We'll
Yeah.
see where they land.
I definitely think that's the way we start. Try to avoid litigation for sure. See if we can come to the table on something.
Okay. Right. Is everybody okay with that?
Sounds
Councilmember
good.
Dixon, you okay?
Yes, that sounds great.
Thank you. All right. Any other discussion on that? Okay, we'll move on to item 12, so early in the evening, for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Back.
Well, geez. Did I even hear that? I'm not even sure I even heard that. We got a motion and a second?
Got it.
All right.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right. Thank you very much for this evening, and drive home safely. Make sure your sump pump's on.